excited.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to Two Guys and a Goalie. Good afternoon, everybody. No Dustin, but Matt and the goalie, Joaquin, are here. Two Guys and a Goalie. Zola in for Nielsen. He's back tomorrow, boys. He's back tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing the big man. Two Guys and a Goalie, of course, presented by GS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety driving their success. GS Construction has a foundation built on teamwork, and now they want you to become a part of the team. Visit www.gsconstruction.ca and click Ready to Work, or visit their page at indeed.ca with the Next Person Up program at GS Construction. It's not just a job, it's a career. And our friend Turan Sandy Sandwith over there. Great people. Great people.
He's okay. He's okay.
Hey, he's great. I think he's good.
He's good.
He's good stuff. What's going on, Kass?
He's all right.
Yeah. Lots to talk about today. Text us 780-218-9999. Get to the nasty chat. Hit that thumbs up button as well, please. And thank you. Kass, yeah, what is going on? I haven't talked to you for a few days since Saturday's game. I've seen, Gager and I are actively in conversations whenever we're in the studio together. So I missed you, buddy.
I miss you too. Yeah, we're good. I'm showing up in person on Thursday.
Ooh.
So that'll be fun at on location for the Oil Stream pre and post game show on Thursday. So that'll be good. Looking forward to spending some good quality time with you over there and with all the nasties, whoever shows up that day. But yeah, I'm good. It's spring break week, right? So it's chaos. Yeah, it's chaos.
Not so much for me anymore, but yeah, you got kids at home.
Yeah, you're good. But for me, yeah, with kids at home, it's nuts. I mean, you get home and my poor wife has been dealing with just the screaming and the fighting and asking for something every 10 seconds all day and trying to get her own stuff done. And so, I have to try to help. And I understand why she's feeling that way, which is great. They're great. Love them. They're amazing. But they also are a handful. So I'm good. Otherwise, lots of fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I set my daughter's alarm for 11:30, so hopefully she's up.
Wow. That's a nice sleep-in.
Oh, God.
That is a great
teenagers,
sleep.
man. Wait till you get to there, Kass, and then you're like, it's so funny because you go from, gosh, they're up. Why don't they just sleep? And then you're like, why won't they wake up and do something?
Yeah, it's the flip. Well, I remember that, man. I remember like, you're able to stay up till like 3 or 4 in the morning, and then it's like sleep till noon, and then you're good, right? And you can do that until, Sunday's over, and then you're back at school on Monday morning, and you're just fine. Like, it doesn't affect you at all. And it's like, not anymore.
No.
It doesn't work that way anymore. Wow. Getting old.
Definitely not the case. Definitely not the case. We'll have plenty of Oilers discussion. A big signing today in the National Hockey League. The playoff races are heating up, obviously. Maybe a couple of Canadian teams falling out in the Western Conference. And I'm sad about that because I do want to see more Canadian content in the Stanley Cup playoffs and hopefully the finals as well. But, Calgary and Vancouver, guys, it doesn't look good for them. I know Calgary has games in hand and they've been playing well. They've won 3 straight, but Vancouver now all of a sudden 3 points back. St. Louis has played one more game. Calgary's got 3 games in hand. I don't know. I feel like the Blues with the 6-game heater, 8-1-1. Is this thing wrapped up in the West? We'll start there. Kass, what do you think?
Is it wrapped up? Not yet. I mean, this to me still has the feeling of one that could go down. I'd have to look at everyone's schedules. I haven't done that yet. I haven't looked at everyone's schedules, but I still look at Calgary because for as good as St. Louis has been playing and, 8-1-1 their last 10, they're a 6-game heater. Calgary's been playing some pretty good hockey too. Statistically, they're not that far behind. Now, they have to win all their games that they have in hand, and that's where I haven't taken a look at their schedule. But this isn't wrapped yet. Minnesota is most likely going to remain in, although they've been fading and just are absolutely beaten up with injuries. Yeah. But Vancouver and Calgary still can make a push. Calgary more than anyone, I think, between the two. Vancouver, yeah, I don't know if I've liked what I've seen, and St. Louis is playing really well. Calgary's still in the mix, though, so I'm not ready to write that one off yet.
I'm actively cheering for the Flames to get into the postseason.
Yeah, Vancouver, I think it's time to bring them out into the shed and put them to the task. There, that's done. I mean, Pettersson looks like he's out. Hughes is playing 46 minutes a night. Like it's not a recipe for success here.
Yeah.
Calgary's interesting because I believe they get. So do they get Dallas on the the back-to-back?
They basically have a schedule that looks like Edmonton's this week,
right? Yeah. So I think it lines up pretty good for them. And man, I worry about them once they get to playoffs because let's face it, they've been playing playoff hockey for 2 months here. Huge game Saturday. I'm more interested out of all these 3 games, the next 3 games for the Edmonton Oilers. I am the one that interests me most is the Calgary game. I want to see how a team without 97 and 29 deal with a Flames team that is hungry and is trying to make the playoffs. Where is the compete? What are we going to see there? So
you think you're going to see fights?
I think because of the way Calgary plays, yes, it'll push Edmonton into that realm of having to do something. I hope. I mean, nothing better than the Battle of Alberta with a few fisticuffs on Saturday night.
Yeah. What's a matchup? A fight matchup? If you had to pick to say, aside from goalies, can't pick goalies. But you're like, hey, this is a tilt I'd want to see.
What I want to see? I want to see Kadri and the Nuge drop the glove.
Okay.
Whoa.
That's a big one. I mean, that's what gets the front page of the newspaper the next day, right? I just want to, but I don't want to see them square off. I want to see a battle in the corner and it get to the boiling point and this enough's enough and the mitts fall off.
Yeah.
The Nuge is a tough customer.
I know.
Surprisingly.
Yeah.
He's so nice and polite, friendly. I think he was at West Edmonton Mall yesterday with fans or the other day. And
wow.
Yeah. And but then if you cross him and he gets angry, look out. Like he did to Justin Hall.
Yeah.
Who's
little Bruce Banner in the Nuge, right? Yeah.
Nuge out. Okay. Now, if Edmonton beats Calgary on Saturday, Calgary struggles in their games this week. That could be the dagger, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with they'll have about 10 games left at that point. One last thought on Vancouver here. Yesterday, Demko returned to action, was taken off of IR. He made 22 saves on 25 shots. They did get the win over New Jersey in the shootout. I'm worried about them because I was listening to you and Hernan talking about Thatcher Demko and his career being in jeopardy, and like he has to live with this injured knee, this pain that exists. And then did you talk about his hips too?
But that's been an issue too. Like that was the issue going in, his hips, and then this weird knee thing. He comes back and then we're taking a break. What was it? He played right before the break and they thought, okay, this gives him time.
Yeah.
And then he's got to still rest another 3 weeks.
Then they signed Lankin into a longer contract.
They had to do something, right? Yeah, it's unfortunate. What was I keep forgetting. Was it Blackburn? The goalie in New York. Blackwood. So he had the shoulder thing, right?
When he was there.
And had to. No. This was the guy, not Blackburn.
Oh, Dan Blackburn.
Dan Blackburn.
Okay, Mackenzie Blackburn.
Yeah, like he was and he was a fantastic, but he had that shoulder issue, and he was so good that they said, well, maybe you can just play with 2 blockers.
Yes. Have you seen those photos?
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's very weird. But so I think we're seeing the same type of thing where you're kind of getting robbed of one of the really great goalies of the NHL and having to succumb to injuries that just won't allow him to play. And when does an organization go, gosh, we want you, man, but we just can't, there's nothing we can do moving forward. We got to let this guy go. I'd be shocked if they don't try to move him or do something with him in the offseason.
That sucks. It really does.
That does suck. Yeah. 'Cause he's really good when he's healthy.
Yes. Elite. I think you could put him into that elite category. Did you guys play with anybody that ended up having in the prime of their career, something like that, debilitating to the point where they had to call it a career early? Would you guys do? Yeah,
and actually another goalie for me. And I still remember the conversation because he called each one of us and told us when it was happening, but that would have been Josh Harding, who was actually an incredibly good goaltender, incredibly athletic. Yeah, and it was MS, got diagnosed with MS. I remember when he called and told about the diagnosis and what it kind of meant moving forward and the potential for him to maybe be done, maybe not, depending on how things went. And he had tried for some time after that and wasn't able to. And it was hard. It was a hard situation for him. Hard to see, just like any health diagnosis, a friend and a teammate that was going through something that was going to impact them. And for that diagnosis in particular too, it wasn't like just like a bad knee or a bad hip. Like that was something that you most likely are going to be dealing with the rest of your life. Not that a bad knee and a bad hip you don't, but it's different than a diagnosis like MS. So that was for me probably the biggest one. You saw guys get injuries and stuff where it's like, this could. Pierre-Marc Bouchard would have been another one with concussions where that issue kept coming up again and again. But with Josh would have been the big one with that MS diagnosis. And again, another goalie where, and he was guys like we'd go, cause you'd like throw the football around, throw the baseball around, there's basketball games out there. Sometimes there's a court and you're kind of shooting around. Harding was an incredible athlete. Like he was one of those guys where you're kind of like, this guy, if he wasn't, as a goalie in the NHL, if he was a player, he probably would have made it as a player. And if he played a different sport, he very well may have turned pro at whatever sport that was. Like was just naturally gifted with whatever he did. So yeah, that was a tough one, but it's hard to see. I mean, Clefbaum was an example of a guy in Edmonton too, where
good point.
You're like, here's a fantastic player that ultimately had to call it quits because it's just the body wasn't cooperating and he didn't want to jeopardize his own long-term health and that of for his family, which is hard to see. I don't know if it's at that point yet, but could be for Demko.
Yeah. Harding was just starting to take off in his career too. He was getting starting minutes and playing more games. And I know Joaquin touched Oscar's back when he saw him a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, "What did you say?" He was like,
"Very fit individual."
Yeah, he is.
I mean, I guess the one person that comes to mind was Jason Bonsignore. I mean that he didn't have any courage and just stifled his whole career. There was just nothing there.
If I had that on this board, I'd play that right now. I love that.
Oh, wow.
You were just shredding.
Everyone knows it. Jeez.
Well, he does run an amusement park now. Did you know this?
That was the funniest thing ever.
He runs an amusement park?
Yes.
Well, so
I did not know this.
we were on the bus, and so Jason's dad was a championship dirt biker, but it's those bikes without brakes and they kind of drift around those dirt tracks. And Jason did it too, I guess. And so obviously Jason, first rounders, has this big signing bonus. And we were down playing Bennington or whatever. And we're driving along the freeway and he goes, boys, the track I just bought is up here. And so we're like, this guy bought a track, and then he's talking about it. And we're getting, okay, well, this guy bought a dirt bike track. We're kind of, it's right off the highway. You can see it from the highway. So we're all on the one side of the bus, and we pull up and see this thing, and it's the biggest dump you've ever seen. It looks like a dystopian novel. Like it's just all beat to crap. I don't know how it looks now, but he got ripped about buying this little plot of garbage for the next probably hour and a half by everyone. How can you sink your money into this thing? Oh God, I was dying laughing for an hour and a half. It was so funny.
Weird. Didn't they say he was supposed to be like the next Mario Lemieux?
Oh yeah. I mean, he was a funny. I liked him. He was a funny individual, right? But just he was soft as what comes out of a puppy. When you looked at him on the ice, there were so many similarities, like the gloves, the skating style, the stick, everything. And he worshipped Mario. Like, I remember he lived right next to me in the apartment building, and we were sitting there, and then highlights came on, and he was like, shh, guys, stop talking. And it was because Mario was playing. I'd just showing us, and we were like, what? And he was looking at the TV. He goes, that's it, buddy. Yeah, buddy, that's how you do it.
You've got to be kidding me.
I'm not. I can't make that stuff up like that. And we were just like, oh my God. And the funny thing is he was skilled. He was huge and a big man, but man, was he soft. And he didn't have a backhand, which was weird. Like everything, he'd have to pass it on his forehand every single time, I remember.
Jeez.
And he was the reason why that he didn't make it was always someone else's fault too, which was one of his downfalls. But good to hear he's owning an amusement park because, that was pretty funny.
Guys, let's go and look at this track I just bought.
Oh, it was. You can't imagine what it was like tires and just grass and growing like it.
Ew.
It was just hilarious. But I guess I guess he was a really good on those dirt bikes, those motorcycle bikes. They had no brakes, so they were just
motorcycle bikes.
Yeah,
a motorbike?
A motorbike, whatever.
Motorbike,
Yeah, there we go.
Motorcycle bike. Yeah.
Keep those texts coming in 780-218-9999. Get to the nasty chat as well. It's Two Guys and a Goalie right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Tom Gazzola, Matt Kassian, and the goalie Joaquin Gage with you. Big Dave chiming in says, guys, we have 5 kids, 2 teenagers, and 3 under 10. So I have 3 up with the sun and 2 that if I don't throw water at them, they'd sleep until mid-afternoon. It's weird to see the difference.
Oh, I bet. Oof. Oh, that's the worst of both worlds.
Yeah.
Because you want to get them up and do stuff, right? Because if you don't, then you're listening to them with their friends talk all night and laughing. Right? And you're like, keep it down. I'm trying to sleep.
I'm an old man. Cass, your girls aren't yet, right? They're getting up.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
They're still up pretty early. Yeah. They're still up pretty early. But if any one of them sleeps past 7, every morning they'll walk downstairs and I'll get my dad joke of the day in. Every single time without fail of the good afternoon. I don't know if you guys ever had that happen.
Yeah.
But then it's like 7:05. Like they may have, because usually they're up between 6:30 and 7. But if they sleep past 7, I give that to them every single time, and they just Dad and get mad at me. But I feel it's my obligation, like I have to do it. And Mandy's just standing there, she just stands there, rolls her eyes because she knows it's coming. Oh, yeah. But every single time,
like clockwork.
Every time,
like clockwork. My dad, I think I would sleep till noon. He'd be like, "Oh, look at you."
Must be nice.
What'd you do? Yeah. Day's half over.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I am well rested. Hampton Steve says, it would be awesome if the Oilers have a chance to put one of the final nails in the Flames playoff coffin on Saturday night. It might get to that point. And then this one says, let's not put Nuge against Kadri. Pick one level down. How about Nugent Hopkins and Huberdeau? Same draft class. It would never happen.
I don't think that happens. Maybe.
No, probably not.
Huberdeau's having a great year.
Yeah.
Like, talk about a turnaround.
Good for him.
Well, he's a good player. Like he fell apart coming to Calgary, and then I think Sutter just wrecked him. Just absolutely wrecked him. Wrecked everything about him as a player. And I feel like there's just been that little bit of a build back to maybe not quite what he was in Florida, but let's not forget, he was a really good player for a number of years.
Yes.
Well, how many, for years prior, when we started doing this, Kass, and we were talking about a best on best scenario and putting together the lines, I think a lot of it was we couldn't wait to see McDavid and Huberdeau. Like, we were putting him on McDavid's wing for a long time because of the success that Huberdeau had with Barkov, right? That's where you kind of thought, oh, this is a good setup here. But I think he's What's he got? 29 goals this year.
27 goals,
27.
28 assists.
27. So he should probably hit 30 here.
Yeah.
That's a huge bounce back for him. Calgary's got something brewing there. I watched the game against the Rangers the other night. It was a really good game. I liked it.
55 points this year for Huberdeau. He probably gets to around 65, 70. That would be his best season since the 100. Yeah, the 115. Now, here's the other interesting part about that. So he had 115 in 21-22. The year prior, he only had 61 in 55 games. That was the shorter season. So that's still more than a point a game. That's good. 78 points in 19-20 in 69 games. So he was tracking up. He had the 92-point season in 18-19. So we are giving him his flowers for a good year, a bounce back. But he did finish with 52 last year. He had 55 the year prior. But that 100-point season set the bar so high that now that we're looking at him having a 60 to 65 point year, 30 goals, like you said, Joaquin, we're going, good job. Like, boy, Jonathan Huberdeau. Is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins kind of in that same space, or is it different?
No, I think it's different because it wasn't like Nuge, like slowly building up to that from a point standpoint. And really, when we look at like that 115-point season, so let's just look at Nuge here, because Nuge, built up 69, because his highest was 69 prior to the 104-point season. Yep. So I don't know. It strikes me as feeling a little bit different, and I think maybe the feeling is being different is when Huberdeau had that 115-point season, we were just like, oh yes, this is the natural extension of him just growing to where he's at as a player. And I think for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, he gets to 100 points, and we're all like, this is amazing. We love it, but we don't know if it's ever going to happen again, right? Where Huberdeau, it's like, oh yeah, he could push for this again every single year. And Nuge is just kind of like, you figure he's going to be in that 65 to 70 point range, or you hope he's in that 65 to 70, but you're not anticipating he's getting to the 100 every single year. So it's just a little bit of a different feel.
Yeah, you said it exactly, Kass. Well, just being around Nuge, knowing that was an outlier, I think that season. It's funny because now I look at it as that's how we kind of look at players, and depending on their age and their progression, I think we kind of Huberdeau'd Evan Bouchard too, right? Like we saw what he was capable of last year. The level of his play was so high by the end of the season that we thought that, oh, this is just the progression, right? This guy is he gonna have we thought 90 to 100 points. Right, if that power play stayed the same way, and it's not there. It's somewhere, not where it is now. It's somewhere in the middle there, where I think where his game is at on a consistent basis. But yeah, I think because Nuge had been with the organization for so long, I don't think there was anyone saying, "Oh, well, now he's a 100-point player, so that's what we're gonna see for the next 8 years."
4 times Nugent-Hopkins in his career has eclipsed 60 points. Just 4. He's had 50 a few times. He's going to have a 50 to 60 point season. He's at 48 right now. If he continues playing the way he has been, 9 points in his last 4 games, like kudos to him for that. He should have a 60 point season, which would be okay. But do you think still he'll have that knock against him this year? People saying you didn't have a very strong season.
Yeah, but there's a lot of guys in that boat. Like,
even if he has a 60-point season,
I mean, that's what you should expect from the Nuge,
right?
Like, so anything, I think 65 to 70 is a really good season for Nuge. So, I think he's right in his wheelhouse. But just looking at the play, he doesn't pass the eye test.
That's fair.
But the point total by the end of the season, I think, if you really look at it, that's what you're expecting from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins on a yearly basis.
Kass, what would you say to that?
We walk back 4 games, and he's at 39 points.
Yep.
Right, like so. Yes, I get that he's had a couple games. Puts up the Hattie. That pads the stats a little bit here, which is good and great. The team needs it, but from an eye test standpoint, I think even from a point standpoint, he would have been tracking below that. So it's almost like, he has a couple good games and it kind of pulls him back into that. And we'd have to look at the point spread and consistency in prior years, but I would be willing to bet that most likely we've seen a little more sporadic and in bunches from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins this year. Like the consistency in production hasn't been there. And realistically, he should get 60 points a year on that power play with McDavid and Draisaitl. You should get 60 points a year. So it's, I don't think fair to expect him to get to 100. But to say, hey, he on a reasonable basis should be able to produce somewhere in that range of 65 to 70 points. And that's like just a normal expectation, not overachieving, but kind of like, he should hit that. I think that's like he should hit that. And if it's below it, it's disappointing. And I think it is borderline disappointing for him this year, because I think you've seen that production drop a little bit. I don't know if he gets to 67 points. Like, I don't know if he matches that.
Yeah. I get that.
And again, it's like, 9 points in a couple of games here, which is great. But as a whole, I just think some of the consistency hasn't been there this year for him.
Okay, on a positive, the fact that he's stepping up at this time of year with those other two guys out, how encouraging is that?
That's the best case scenario for the Edmonton Oilers right now.
Right.
Like he's kind of next in line to be your big dog, I would say. Maybe you look through the lineup, you can say, Darnell Nurse is playing great. Ekholm's Ekholm. But really,
Hyman's been good too lately.
Hyman's been, but I think to really, take the mantle and put the team on your shoulders, I think that's what, he's a first overall pick. That's what you want from these guys, right? And he's done that. And it all kind of started with that Rangers game. I think just getting some points finally, as it happens with everyone. They get a little bit more confident with the puck. I think the added playing time is what's really doing it for Nuge. Like just, getting into the game a little bit more responsibility, feeling it. This is a great opportunity for him to get kind of back on track, because we've seen some pretty good game. Best kind of time of the year that we've seen Nuge for this season. I think this is the best hockey he's played for this year.
To follow up on that, Kass, how much of it is it the switch over to center? Or do you think that is not as much of an impact as we might say or think? Well,
I think mentally it could be an impact, right? And mentally giving more responsibility, it may help. It really might. Like, and with McDavid and Draisaitl being out, maybe that helps even more too, right? Where it pushes him or is pushing him a little bit more. I do wonder, guys, for a guy that didn't have, he had a lot, earlier in his career, had a lot of long off seasons. And we said this before, and we've talked about it a little bit. Tommy, I don't know if it was, I don't think you were on. I think it was Matty Wanek that was filling in for Dusty on a day. But like, if I think of like Arvidsson and even McDavid and Draisaitl, or maybe McDavid more than Draisaitl, because Draisaitl's having a great year. But think of Arvidsson, I think of McDavid, and I think of like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. It's a couple summers in a row now where it hasn't been a fast turnaround. Right? It hasn't been a fast turnaround. And I just wonder if that has affected them physically with how they've been able to perform at parts of this year. And I wonder if Ryan Nugent-Hopkins kind of has the same effect. I could be wrong. It could be not that at all. But I wonder if that's the case and if that factors in. And along with things like, okay, well, now you're giving him more responsibility. It's later in the year. He's finding a groove a little bit more. But I wonder how much of it does have to do with just that shortened off season and that making it more difficult, particularly early in the year, to have success.
You think because before kind of the big two got injured, he got the move to center and kind of a different role, right? Like he was checking and if he can contribute off, and it worked out. Do you think that was kind of one of the catalysts for him to start playing a little bit better? Just having a little bit more responsibility on his own instead of facilitating either
complimenting and all that.
Yeah.
I like the concept and the principle of that. And I think that speaks to a guy's character, where they want that responsibility. They want to have that trust from the coaching staff and their fellow teammates. So maybe, but the way he was playing, to me, kind of, I'm like, I don't know if he's going to have it. I had that doubt.
Okay.
I guess it instilled some doubt in my mind about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins' ability to step up and be some semblance of the Nugent-Hopkins we saw a year or two ago. But the fact that he is playing this way, he's skating well, he is playing responsible, I'm pleasantly surprised, super encouraged by it, and I hope it continues. I feel like this is something that could continue.
Yeah.
But I like the reaction to getting that responsibility bestowed on him, and him being like, you know what, I'm going to use this and motivate my ass to get into gear, and he has.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of look at it. Cass, you want to follow up, or do you have anything else on that?
No, I think good summaries. Overall, I would say it is great that he started to pick it up, and he's starting to play really well at a really good time, leading into that playoffs. And I think is something definitely to be positive about. And regardless, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what is making him start to play better, like what has helped him do that. I think what matters for the Edmonton Oilers is that he is playing better, and that he is carrying more responsibility, and that he's having success and starting to have success doing it, which is a huge positive. So I think overall you have to be happy with where his game is at currently, even if it's taken a little longer than you'd like to get there.
Well, they're going to need him to continue to play well. I know, 9 points in 4 games is great. 3-point games is nice. Getting a hat trick is fantastic. But if he's contributing, they're going to need that to continue on, because as Darren texts in via the Nasty Chat says, when are the 2 big guns back? Did I miss it? Well, last practice, the Oilers are off today, by the way. Chris Knobloch said that, hey, it's still going to be some time. Draisaitl isn't quite day-to-day yet. They don't want to put that label on him. And then McDavid still looking like a little bit longer. Were you guys surprised by Knobloch's timeline? Do you think that there's a bit of smoke and mirrors being thrown up there? And then how discouraging might that be to the fan base? Because you always want good news. You want those nuggets and that carrot dangling in front of you. But this is not that. This is, as my dad liked to say, shit on a stick scenario, right? Like, this is not good.
Ew, that's terrible, actually.
Yeah, I know.
When Coach Knobloch said first, it's a week, right?
Yes.
So I'm the way I look at that ends this Sunday coming up, right? I don't think you see either of them, these 3 games, and then you probably see Monday what happens at that point. They play Monday though, don't they?
I have to look at the schedule, but I'm just the scenario on the timeline, because they play Saturday against Calgary, and then they kick off April Tuesday against Vegas in Vegas. That's a 4-game road trip. Cass, how do you assess the crap on a stick scenario that I just explained?
Yeah, I mean,
Knobloch yesterday.
There's always smoke and mirrors. You don't know. You never know. Yeah. Unless we're in that coach's office, in that medical room, there's no way to know. The timeline's going to continue to shift, but sometimes, and I guess sometimes you don't know, like you're guessing as well, because you have general, okay, well, if it's this, it usually takes around this long for a player to come back. If it's that, it usually takes around this. We're not even sure if it's really this or that, so we're going to kind of go halfway in between and say a week. Like, so there's some of that as well, where you don't necessarily know all the timelines. But at the end of it, like, it doesn't matter if it's a week or a month. For the players that are in the lineup, you have to find a way to play, and you're going to have to find a way to play against some pretty good teams without those guys in, which I think is a good challenge and some good motivation. And maybe it's giving McDavid and Draisaitl some rest for the rest of their bodies, and maybe that's okay. That's
the other thing. If it is extra rest and their bodies healing up for what they hope to be a long playoff run, do you like the mentality from the organization to say, let's not push it? We feel like we're okay with finishing second. Hopefully we can push for third. We're okay with potentially facing the Kings again. But you guys rest so that when we do face whoever we do in the playoffs, you guys are at 100% or as close to it. Because they gave the 2 weeks to Ekholm. They're giving their 2 biggest guns, the 2 best players, in my opinion, in the league, this rest. Do you like that mindset as opposed to, hey, we got to get them back. Let's go.
But they're not healthy. They're not healthy. So it may be rest, but it's not like you have a guy that is 100% healthy where you're like, hey, we're going to rest you for 2 weeks. It's like, well, no, there is a real injury, and could you push through it? Well, maybe, but we're going to give you a week because we want this injury to recover.
Yeah.
Like I think that's different. Like that doesn't send a message of, oh, we're content with finishing second. Now, if you went to be like, oh, you're not really hurt, but we're just going to keep you out. But if there's a real injury, which I think there is in both cases, then
the realness of whatever ails both guys.
There's
second.
I'm not. So to me, it's a little bit of a different scenario, like where you're not just trying to create something to give them rest. It's like, well, no, you're going to utilize it a little bit. Now, if it extended beyond that to where it's like he knew, or McDavid or Dries, like they knew they were ready to go, and they were good to go, and no further chance of injuring, and then you said, oh no, let's just give it a couple extra days, then I think you run into that risk. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see that being a thing yet, Gager. I don't know if you feel differently. Maybe you do. You goalies are crazy. So
yeah. Well, I'll give you crazy. All right. I think both injuries are a lot more severe than they talk about.
Okay. Okay.
The way that Leon like awkwardly gets his leg extended, that tells me like a hamstring pull or something, a slight tear. That's scary. And what is really frightening is the way that Connor McDavid acted after that. That seemed like more of a groin, lower abdominal kind of ailment, right? Where he grabbed right away and hunched over. You're the athletic pubalgia expert, Kass. I don't know if you've
Great
really
ref.
dove
Good
into how that looked or slowed it down to speed, but I have a feeling that both these guys have I don't know if serious, but very concerning injuries this close to playoffs.
It's a fair thought, right?
Yeah.
Can we get
It's
into
not so crazy.
Can we get into the science of athletic pubal? I'm just kidding. I just thought that was a good pull. And I still laugh when Kass started using it last year, and the first time he said it, I'm like, wait, what did you just say? He's like, athletic pubalgia.
No, you said that. I think you said that back in the dungeons of Little Brick too.
This was just a podcast before it became a full-on show on a station. That's good. Okay, we are going to get to hire it or fire it right away here. We do have some texts that have come in, 780-218-9999. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, like, share, hit that thumbs up, all that good stuff. Subscribe if you haven't already. Get into the nasty chat too. Waddy and Cloverdale texting in. Said, are my ears failing me? Sounds like Kass is advocating for analytics with a laughing emoji, Kass, just to add a little oomph.
I advocate for responsible analytics. Analytics. That's the key. They have to be responsible analytics, responsibly done, responsibly used, and balanced with a purpose, not just unreasonable, which is how most people use them.
Fair point. Troll with a few texts says Barkov helped Sam Reinhart, looked like a good NHL player as well. Reinhart looked like a bust until he went to Florida with the strong finish here. Also, Nuge could have a Dylan Holloway type season. LOL. Troll. Nailed it. Lived up to the name on that last one. But I thought Reinhart was still, even though in Buffalo, like he didn't become a superstar there, I still thought he was a good player on a crappy team. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of guys.
Eichel, right? He was a good player on a crappy team.
Yeah. But
really kind of came into his own when he finally went to Vegas. Barkov's a different breed, right? Like he's the epitome of a NHL superstar where he brings out the best of players that play with him too. I think there's something to that. He's the Markov of Florida, right? You play with a guy like that, you're going to become better. Hearing Matthew Tkachuk rave about him, right? And Tkachuk he had Johnny Gaudreau, right? And he still had 100-point seasons, but he raves about Barkov on a regular basis. He knows what he's got there.
He made a crazy move. I watched Florida-Pittsburgh on Sunday in the shootout, and Jari was playing really well. Good to see him bounce back with his career. Obviously, he had a tough go earlier in the season. Jari was playing pretty decently, and the Penguins are, they're finishing up the string here. And they take the Panthers to the shootout, and Barkov did this like forehand shimmy shake, and then he just slid it on the backhand through Jari's legs, and I'm like, I don't know how many head jukes and stick moves he did in like a 10-foot window, but
It's amazing.
good luck. And I felt bad for Jari on that one. Okay, a couple more texts here. Shanzi says some players need to have more responsibility in order to be engaged.
I like that.
I believe it.
I
Kass,
believe it too.
Valid.
Yeah, valid. Yeah. That's what I was asking for when I had a dream last night that I was yelling at my old GM in Kamloops for not playing me enough.
The other PK, damn it.
I woke up early. It was about the power play. I woke up early and I was so mad. It's such a grumpy mood when I woke up. And it was because of that. It's like I woke up yelling.
That's funny.
Oh, boy.
You still have hockey dreams, Cass? I haven't had a.
Yeah, I still do. And they're usually that was an odd one. Usually when I still have them, it's like I can't, like it's time to go play the game. And usually it's for Minnesota or Ottawa. And I'm like trying to get my gear on and I'm like missing gear or I'm just going too slow. Like I can't get out there fast enough. Like that's usually how they are.
That one,
but this one was
the anxiety dreams.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't have them as much anymore, but my last one was, I was going out in Rexall, and because the Oilers needed a goalie, and I was like, I do not want to do this. And then the fans were just boo. I was like, get this bum off the ice. And then I woke up. Thank God I didn't play.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I Google searched it really quickly. Not being able to get on the playing field dream. The AI overview, as Google provides now, says a dream about not being able to get onto a playing field could symbolize feelings of inadequacy, anxiety about performance, or feeling excluded from opportunities or challenges in your waking life.
There we go.
What usually happens in bed, Tommy. So whatever.
What up, Bum? He's on fire today. He's had some zingers today that have been great. All right, let's go to keep it or cool, but hire it or fire it for GS Construction. Of course, at GS Construction, they're hiring now. Become a part of their great team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or their page on indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team at GS Construction. All right, boys. Jacob Chychrun today signs a nice ticket. 8 years, $72 million. He's 27 years of age. Hire it or fire it. The Jacob Chychrun deal will affect Evan Bouchard's next deal. Kass, we'll start with you.
Hire it. It just means he got more expensive.
You think this makes Bouchard more expensive at 9
Yeah.
million? But okay. So no.
Well, like for me, okay, maybe in actuality, well, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That pushes him easily over the 10 million mark. For
What's
Bouchard.
Chychrun's stats right now?
I'll look it up, but I'm a little bit surprised.
You make a good point, Cass. I was thinking of, because isn't Bouchard's second in defenseman scoring? Is that correct?
I will also
Would have to double check.
Obviously, he's having a good offensive season. Chychrun's at 43 points.
26. So yes, you are eating up UFA years with this deal, but 43 points this year. He'll hit his career high this year. Already at his career high. 41 points the season before, and then 30 points in the shortened, 22 or injury shortened. If you look statistically between Chychrun and Bouchard's stats are way better. His averages are way better. He's going to be younger, and you're going to end up paying more. Like you cannot, with that contract, you cannot pay him under 10 million. And I know there's people like, pay him 5 or see him gone. Like it's ludicrous. By the way, Gus is in the inbox. More expensive. Come on. If Chychrun is getting $9 million per year, no way Bouchard should get more than $7 million. Gus, give your head a shake.
Bouchard, really quickly, 55 points. That's fourth most among defensemen, one ahead of Rasmus Dahlin and Victor Hedman and Josh Morrissey.
Yeah.
And he's having an off year from a point standpoint.
Yeah.
If you average out, so let's average out. So if you average out the 23, 24, and 25 seasons, for Chychrun, so the last 3 years, you're in that 37 to 39 point range. Right? Let's pull up Evan Bouchard's here. If we average out Evan Bouchard's stats for the last 3 seasons, he was at 40 points 3 seasons ago, then 82, and then he's going to be in that range of 60 this year.
Yep. 65
so you are
maybe.
65 even maybe. So you are getting 10 more points a season on average. And, he's, yes, a year younger. There's just, you are going to have to pay him more than 10 million. You're going to have to. Yep. This makes it more expensive. Sorry, Gus.
Makes a good point, doesn't he?
Well, you can say, and you can tell me,
because I don't want. I want people to like me still.
Please love me.
Love me. Not like Kass is the bad guy.
Yeah. I'm the bad guy for, Well, like I know, and because your argument can't be, and this is what the argument in the nasty chat is consistently. This is what it can't be, but this is what it is, well, there's Chychrun's, give me Chychrun over Bouchard. He's way better. Well, that may be, you may like him way better, but his statistics and his points say that he's going to get paid more.
Yeah.
Like you cannot now your first offer, if your first offer for Edmonton, so Bouchard's camp is probably going to come in and probably going to say we want 11 million.
Yes, they will.
Or 11 and a half.
Yes.
Right. And Edmonton's probably going to initially come in and counter that and say, we'll give you 9. That's most likely where the discussions would have started this offseason. But now all of a sudden with Chychrun at 9 for Edmonton, that just pushed you up another $500,000. Where your first offer, Bouchard probably still comes in and says, we want 11. Edmonton's going to have to come back, and instead of saying 9 to start, you're going to have to say we're going 9.5.
Yeah.
Here, and so you just bumped up Bouchard's contract, the final. So if you just say okay, they're going to meet halfway, and they're going to get to 10 between 11 and 9, and that would have been the number, which is probably around where it would have been. Is you probably just got to 10 and a half. So and you like it all or hate it all you want, yell at me all you want, and I'm not saying that that's right or that's what he's worth, but that's what the market is going to say he's worth, and that's what he's going to get paid. So yeah, it just made it more expensive.
Makar makes $9 million as well. I know he signed that deal a couple of years ago, but you're looking at the
that's
guys,
a couple of years ago. Yeah,
like where's Werenski? Werenski signed that deal a couple of years ago in the same time frame as Jones and Darnell Nurse.
He's 9. What?
Werenski is a 9.58 right now per season. And then you look at the other elite defenseman or point wise, what's Quinn Hughes his contract right now? Quinn Hughes salary, he's at 9.5. And this is as I was going over Bouchard's stats again. He's plus 16, guys. That's second best among this group of elite defensemen, quote unquote. The best is Makar at plus 24. And don't get me wrong, and we have just shredded Bouchard's defensive game and the egregious mistakes he's made that have directly led to goals. I know people will say, well, his giveaways don't really lead to, and they bring out the analytics on that. It's like, no, he has plays that directly lead to goals against, and it's very frustrating to watch. But his stats in general dictate he's 9.5 to 10 mil.
If you had to go, because you're not, but if you had to go to arbitration, let's say you went to arbitration, you had to go and in front of someone that was a non-hockey person, and both sides had to make their argument as to what is getting paid. He's getting paid 10.5. Statistically,
cap's going
percentage of the cap wise when those other guys sign those deals, you're going to have that argument. It's just, he's getting paid 10.5. Don't,
it's okay, because Connor's going to ask for 9.7, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Sid. Okay, this one, Joaquin and I talked a little bit prior to the show starting. Hire it or fire it. Goalie interference is worse than the toe in the crease rule in the late 90s. And this goes back to the Palmieri, Merzlikins last night, Columbus, and the Islanders, Patrick Wall losing it, getting mad. And Gager said, actually, I'll let you explain it. Hire it or fire it. Goalie interference now is worse than the toe in the crease rule was in the late 90s, where if you had a toe in the crease, no goal automatically. Gager loved that rule.
So what is it? Higher it. So higher it. It's worse.
That
now?
goalie interference now is worse than what that.
I'm going to higher it.
Yeah.
Because the toe in the crease was clear cut and easily distinguishable, except for Brett Hull's goal. The issue is it's so discretionary of what's going to, and I understand why it was goaltender interference, because the path of Palmieri, was it?
Yes.
Palmieri went and it was kind of through the crease.
But
I'm gonna stop myself. That's why, and there was a little bit of contact. I still felt that Merzlikins got set again, but I hate that goalies are so soft right now. Like any little bump, you gotta. There's a little bit of battle that you need to have to find the puck, right? I don't think you should be hand on a pad holding a goalie down or knocking their stick out of the way. But there is a little bit of battle, I think, that is required at certain points, and a little brush or a little tap on the blocker shouldn't mean the difference between a goal and no goal.
That was very well said.
Very, very well said. I want to disagree with you for sake of experience for everybody, but I can't. But I agree with you. I agree with you totally on this. I got to hire it. It's way worse because you don't know what is and what isn't. Right? Like you don't know what is interference, what's not interference, and goalies are soft. That's the exact thought I had. Is like right now they're soft in that regard, and some of it they have to be because it sells it a little bit better.
That is
where they're trying to get those calls, right? Like you have to sell it just in case the puck goes in. So I get that. So when I say soft, I don't mean like they're not, dealing with injuries and
they're selling
whatever.
it. Strategic.
I mean, they're selling it. It's strategic softness.
Too.
Yeah. But I don't like it. I would like more, especially if it's, and that's where it's hard. And it's always hard to tell if it's unintentional contact or not. But it's like, if you're in the battle with someone and the goalie's pushing out. Now we could talk about this for a while, but I agree with you, Gager. I think it's called too much. It's really annoying. Never knowing what is and what isn't interference, knowing that it's judgment calls and it depends on the officials and depends on the off-ice officials. It's frustrating, and I don't like it.
You want to follow up?
Well, this is another thing, just with the Stuart Skinner getting called from the spotter.
Yep.
I would have a discussion with Skinner. I go, hey, if you got your bell rung, fine, right? But any embellishment to try to get the extra two, if there was sort of head contact, I would tell my goalies, look, if you're concussed, that's okay, but don't try to sell it too much if there is head contact. I would rather him pop back up and throw the mask off to show he's okay and mad.
Yep.
And I think that would cause the spotter not to say, you know what, our goalie that's stopped 45 of 46 shots needs to go sit in the dressing room in the last 2 minutes of a 1-goal hockey game. I would say get back to your feet if there's any sort of head contact, because we need you in there at that point. You don't want to be putting your partner in that situation where they got to go in cold in a game that maybe means a ton, right? So if there's a leg sweep or something, maybe you can stay down a little bit more as long as there's no head contact. But I would tell, I'm sure that goalie coaches have talked to their goalies and go, look, man, if you're playing, you get hit in the head and you're okay, just pop back up. Sell it a different way. Maybe throw the helmet off like Mike Smith used to do.
He's good at that. A couple of texts come in as we wind things down in regard to the goalie interference. Adam says toe in the crease is objective. Goalie interference is subjective based on the current rules. That's totally true. Penner's Pancake says that was a total BS call. If Isles missed the playoffs in a tight race by 1 point, ouch. And then Gordon says nobody knows what will and won't be called as goaltender interference anymore. Exactly. And that's where there's equal frustration from my point of view as a fan of the game. Back then, you're like, oh, toe in the crease, no goal. You knew it. But now you're like, maybe interference? I don't know. Contact? Is that? Did he reset? I have no idea. They don't seem to know. And that, to me, is equally as frustrating. That's why I kind of compared the two.
Well, I think the toe in the crease was frustrating because it could have nothing to do with the play.
Yeah.
That's what made that frustrating, right? Yeah. Is like, yes, it was objective, which was a good thing. Is it like, yes, if the toe's in the crease, it's no goal. But it's like, it could be a guy away from the play that had nothing to do with it on the opposite side, whose toe just grazed by there. And you're like, well, that has nothing to do with it. Why?
Yes.
Like, it shouldn't. Yeah, that's what the frustrating thing with those plays were.
It got that 1 year, it got to that point where it didn't matter what the scenario was. If an opposition player's toe was in, no goal.
And I mean, even the Brett Hull goal itself, his toe in the crease didn't really affect Hasek's ability to try to stop that puck, right?
But by the rule, it shouldn't have been a goal.
Buffalo should be Stanley Cup champions.
Well, they'd have to play another game. Reed Wilkins, he'll be on at 3. Says goalies should have to battle for their position as long as they aren't clearly disrupted. And then C-Run says, how long after the bump is it not goaltending interference anymore? I don't even know. I don't think anybody does.
That's why I say they're soft, like a little bump. Well, like what is it? 1,000, 2,000. Okay, I'm okay. I mean, geez, come on, guys.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
What are we doing here?
Could say the same thing for offsides too. How many seconds after the offside? Yeah.
Oh, if we had another hour, let me tell you what. That's how good of a show it's been, boys. We're out of time. Thanks for letting me fill in for Dusty. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Kass, I look forward to seeing you on location on Thursday, Boston Pizza Westgate. Gager, you've got ESC afternoons coming up next with Hernan Salas and Ice Cube. Fantastic show as always. Thank you to everybody who listened on iHeart, TuneIn, and of course, EdmontonSportsTalk.com's audio player. And to those who watched us on YouTube, big thank you. As always, hit the thumbs up button on your way out. That's going to do it for 2 Guys and a Goalie, presented by GS Construction. For Kass and Gager, I'm Tommy saying have a great afternoon.